Hi, I'm Sinclair with the Power of the Patient Project. My guest today is Faust Ruggiero. Faust is a published research author, clinical trainer, and a therapist who has worked in settings that have included clinics for deaf children, prisons, nursing homes, substance abuse centers, inpatient facilities, and as the president of the Community Psychological Center in Bangor, Pennsylvania. Upon graduating from Mansfield University in 1977, Mr. Ruggiero enrolled in a graduate program in psychology at Illinois State University. There, he was a dual major in clinical and developmental psychology with a minor in research. He assisted in the publication of several research articles, including his thesis, The Effects of Prosocial and Antisocial Television Programs on the Cognition of Children. In more recent years, he has developed his Process Way of Life counseling program into a formal text presented in the Fix Yourself Handbook. Welcome, Faust.
Thanks for inviting me, Dove. I appreciate it.
Of course. So can you tell us a little bit about your book and what readers might learn from it?
Sure. The Fix Yourself Handbook is the result of about 20 years of research in my office. I've been in private practice for about 30 years. And, when you get out of college, they teach you all the things you're supposed to know. And then you get out in the real world and you say, okay, that doesn't apply. And let's try to do that one. So I put together a program I call the Process Way of Life. It simply is just about all the processes we should be using in our lives if we want to move those along constructively. Things like honesty and using your intellect over your emotion, trust, and those types of things. And I put together 52 of those that I explain in the book in 36 chapters. The book is designed to really just to make us stronger people so that we can deal with any problem that comes up in our lives.
Oh, wow. That's really great. How long is it? Is it a long read or?
No, actually, when you do one of these, you do the research and set the design down. And what I realized was the way people are learning today is they're not going to those real long books. Lots of people have asked that question, how long is this? Each chapter is 3 to 5 pages. I present a topic. I give them all the information necessary to understand that, like honesty or whatever it may be. Then at the end of the chapter, I go to the exact steps. If you do these kinds of things or something very close to it, you'll really work well with this problem. The whole book is about 265 pages. So 36 chapters and 265 pages. And it's designed to be a reference book. So should you, a year after you finish the book, say, gee, I'm getting angry again. What did that chapter say? You can go right back and I think it's about 5 pages, and go right to the steps and start the process all over again if you need to.
Wow, that's really great, especially for this generation who's they don't read as much as they used to.
No. No, this generation likes to get things fast. And it's interesting that you said that, because when I put the design together, I call it microwave learning. It's like everyone wants to go real fast. Just give me the Reader's Digest version and let me get to the solution as fast as I can. But the problem is we lose the ability to understand the process to get from point A to B, so to speak. And that's where all the learning is. That's where our ability to apply ourselves as we move on in life comes from. All that middle stuff, the beginning and the end are great, but that just defines where you start and where you want to go. It's that whole middle ground that we're trying to teach. So I thought if I go a little quicker, but pack it with all the right information, that would work. And it seems to be doing real well for people.
Yeah, I certainly agree. It's great. And now diving into your book, you have a quote that says, "Don't look for quick fixes for your problems. Learn the right way to think. Then you can fix anything that comes your way." So what is the right way to think?
The right way to think is, first of all, to be very honest with yourself. Don't blame anyone else for your shortcomings. Be willing to do the work. So what you're doing really when it comes to how you want to think is be honest with yourself first, slow down enough so that you can ask yourself, what do I need to do in these situations? Be willing to put together a plan. Try not to react with your emotions. That's what everyone does. We saw that with the pandemic and all the insane emotional reactions we saw. If people would have just taken a step back and say, okay, let me get all the information about this and see what I need to do, they would have worked a whole lot better. So we slow down, we be honest with ourselves, get our brains in the picture before our emotions, get the facts, go to a plan. If we do that, it works real well. I have a little thing I call in the book and in the Process Way of Life, I call present, understand, fix. And it's how I do all the chapters. We present a problem, we get all the information to understand it, we go to a fix it, a plan to get to the point where whatever we're doing, that works out for us.
Yeah. What is working, or what is acting with your emotions? What is that? What is that?
Well, when we hear something, when something happens, again, we hear the pandemic. What did we do? We said, oh my God, it's going to be worldwide. We have to shut ourselves in the house. Someone said, oh, everybody get supplies real quick, get your paper products. And we saw what happened with that. So emotions and that quick reaction got us to the point that we couldn't find toilet paper in the stores, which is ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
If we would have sat back and said, let me think about this for a moment, let me get all my facts. What's the problem? We have a pandemic. Let me get all the information, whether it's CDC or the WHO or whoever, let me get the right information. Then let me put together a plan. And we would have said, well, if I have to stay in the house, it's 2 weeks, it's a month. People will bring me food and supplies. If I have to leave money for them, I'll do that. And I'm not going to die in my house. So, if we can do that, just take our time, take a step back, catch your breath and look at it for a moment. Then you put together a plan.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree. Another expert from your book, you talk a lot about love, specifically self-love. Why is self-love so important, especially when you're looking for love from others?
And that's the key. What we do is we try to complete ourselves. We try to find what we're looking for in someone else who is usually doing the same thing we're doing. So it gets to be very difficult. What I've trained people to do over the years is learn to like themselves first. Create a world that you like, create a person that you like, set your goals, be productive, be happy with what you're dealing with first. Once you do that, then you can start looking whether it's love from someone else or from yourself. Then you're a little more comfortable with things. But that quote, and I'm glad you asked it, is so many people have said, gotta love yourself, and no one's saying, here's how you do it.
Right.
So everyone's trying to figure this out. The first step is to create a world, your world, that you like. You're in control of that. We hear all this new normal stuff, and people are saying, how are you going to adjust the new normal? And I say, well, what's that going to be? And there's no answer. I said, well, how about if you create your own? Instead of looking at what's going to happen, there'll be some adjustments to make, but how about every day you get up and you create your own world? You take charge of that. If you can do that, you like the world you're creating, you like the fact that you're doing it, and you start liking yourself. That's your first step. If you do that, moving towards loving yourself is real easy. Then you start to weed out some of the toxic stuff or the people that aren't too positive in your life. And then you start setting your goals, and you set your boundaries, and you do all those kinds of things that make your world what you want your world to be. Self-love follows that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And especially what about outside factors like families and other pressures that make it difficult for you to actually even start to create a world that you just like?
Sometimes the first step is you have to look at who's in your life and what impact they have on your life. Family sometimes can be the most supportive, or they can be the ones that weigh you down the most. There's more demands there. There's more judgment there. There's all that kind of history that's been there. Sometimes you're either going to move those folks to the side if you can, or you're going to readjust how you deal with them. You might say, all right, mom is this way. She's a difficult person. She's always hovering. She's always going to be there. She's critical no matter what I do. Well, then you're going to have to try to learn how to love mom without that stuff, without bringing that in. You don't have to own what someone else says. I just had that where someone said, what a great job I did, and the book was wonderful, and I'm her hero. And I said, don't put me there. I have my own feeling about myself. It has to come from me. If someone says I'm wonderful or they say I'm horrible, that shouldn't mean too much to me, because that's their opinion based upon whatever their perceptions are. Mm-hmm. Mine have to be built based upon what I build inside myself. Mm-hmm. And so I talk about in the book, I talk about two concepts. One is boundary setting, and then defense of those boundaries, because that's important. The other one I talk about is keeping the right people in and out of your life. It's what I call gatekeeping. And some people should occupy space in your life. They're positive, or at least they're not threatening. Other people are going to sabotage. They're going to be people that are negative. They're going to provide all that negative energy for you. And we have to be good at deciding who gets in and who gets out, because that's going to affect that to some extent. It's going to affect who we are and how we feel about ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I completely agree. Definitely have to set boundaries. One of the most important things I've learned in mental health.
I see. You take care of yourself. And, as I was reading the program you're working with, advocating for people, when
Mm-hmm.
people come into my office and I teach them, and I'll get that caregivers come in, or the people themselves who need care. Well, how am I going to get stronger? I said, that's your first point. Before you advocate for yourself, you have to get strong enough to be willing to do that, and confident enough to go there and ask all the questions you have to ask and get all the information. Doctors can be wonderful people, or they can be people that make us feel as though we know nothing and we're insignificant. So, I always tell people, you've got to get strong inside. You got to feel good about yourself, so that when something comes up, you're saying, you know what? I'm a good person. I'm worthy of this. And you need to take your time and explain exactly what I need.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that whole mindset where it's not arrogant, but it is assertive. It says, this is the way, this is what's happening in my life. It's what I need. You're in the process with me, so you need to provide me what I need, so that I can do what I have to do to be healthy.
Right. Yeah. And finally, in a world that seems so uncertain, and it's sometimes also harder to interact with others, what advice can you give to make people feel a little bit more hopeful?
Well, hope is something that, again, it comes from inside us. If we're willing to, back to that, get strong inside, that's what it's all about. We have a tendency to look outside of ourselves for everything. It's why people are having a difficult time with this virus. What they're saying is, I can't go out. The restaurants are closed. The clubs are closed. I can't see my friends. It's all that outside stuff. Work on getting strong on the inside. Give yourself options. Get yourself to the point that you don't need all the artificial everything. And if you can say, through this virus, I can stay home, I can put my schedule together, I can do what I have to do. Somewhere down the road, we're going to come through it. But in the meantime, these are seconds of my life going by, and I want to make them count for me. So I'll try to enjoy as much as I can, and maybe I'll plan so that when this is over, I'll even be stronger when we get out of this. It's all about what happens inside.
Yeah. So fix yourself inside, and then outside, everything will just fall into place.
That's the way it works.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that's all the questions that I have for you. Is there anything else you would like to add?
What I tell people is, you already have everything inside you. I didn't put together this revolutionary program with all new concepts. Everything that I wrote is what we already have inside us. Be willing to go inside and get that stuff. It'll take a little while, and some of what you're dealing with won't be so pleasant for you, but most of what you find, if you're willing to go inside, will be all the goodness. We're all good people in there. We just have to go kind of pull the junk off and get to the point that we understand that we're good people, and that we have the ability and the power, if you will, to move forward if we're willing to go in and do a little bit of the work. Also, make it a program for life. There are no quick fixes. There's no fix your life in 10 easy steps. Be able to get up and say, I know what, I'm worth it. I should, if I apply this every day, like I should, my life's going to be good, or at least better every day. And eventually I'll get to the point where I feel real good about myself.
Right. Yeah. And kind of going off of that, you said that, this stuff, you didn't invent it. It was already there. So why are more and more people kind of struggling with like these anxiety, depression, and all these other factors? Why is there more people?
Because we got used to looking for fixes outside of ourselves. Instead of saying, I've got some anxiety or I've got some depression going on, let me find out why. Let me go fix those problems. I pick up my cell phone, I call the doctor, and he says, well, let me give you this pill, and you'll feel better. Quick fixes, again, outside of ourselves. We got away from looking at who we are and taking the time to fix it. Let's go to what makes us depressed. Let's go to why we're feeling anxiety. Are we doing some things? Are some of our routines maybe not so healthy? Let's get all that out of the way first. If it gets to the point that we've done all that and we're down to a physical thing where, I've got anxiety or depression, by all means, use the pill, but be able to go inside and make your life better on the inside. We everything we do is based on what we see, what's trending, what's popular. Let me make sure I fit in, all those kinds of things. And when we feel like we don't, now we're at a step, we think we're missing something. And then, now here comes the anxiety and here comes the depression. And, slow down a little bit, look at things, put a plan together. It works. When I started counseling 30 years ago, maybe 10% of the people that came in my office had medicine prescribed. Now it's more like 70%. So you can see in a few decades how bad it's gotten in terms of what's happening in our nation. The pharmaceutical companies own us, and that's where everybody goes quickly for everything. So we just want to take our time, get healthy routines in your life. I tell people we are people that are physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual. Deal with all those components of yourself. Take care of your body, your mind, your emotions, and your spirit. Usually we get to that balance that we want, and everything isn't so difficult to deal with.
Yeah. Do you think that social media and like the media really takes a toll on a lot of people's mental health these days?
Social media, the news, all those things, unfortunately, are fear-based. You got to do it this way. You got to agree with me. You can see that through the last election. It's my way. You're not going to vote for this person. Well, then I don't like you. And I saw families breaking up over this stuff. It's all fear-based. We have to fit in. We've got to get there on time. Check it all the time. Have your phone with you all the time. Somewhere along the line, you want to disconnect. And I always tell people, take a day a week and disconnect. Get back to who you are. Breathe. And don't feel all the pressure. Feel good about what you're doing. What you're doing is fine. Enjoy your life. It's yours.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Thank you so much for joining me. And I certainly learned a lot, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers will too.
Very good. It's been my pleasure. Thank you.